Sekarang, cuba kita ringkaskan alamat IPv6 berikut. Untuk meringkaskan alamat IPv6, terdapat beberapa peraturan yang perlu kita ikuti dan patuhi untuk membolehkan kita meringkaskan alamat IPv6 dengan betul dan tepat. Ya. Peraturan yang pertama, discard leading zeros. Maksudnya di sini, kita boleh buang kosong di bahagian hadapan. Okey, kalau kita tengok IP address sini, kita boleh buang kosong pada blok kelima, ya. Menjadi daripada 0063 menjadi 63. Kita boleh buang discard leading zeros, ya, yang bahagian hadapan. Diingatkan, kita hanya boleh buang leading zeros sahaja. Maksudnya kosong di hadapan. Jika kosong tu berada di belakang, kita tidak boleh buang dia sama sekali, ya. Peraturan yang kedua adalah jika satu ataupun lebih daripada dua blok mengandungi jujukan kosong, kita boleh buang kesemua kosong tu dan replace dengan double colon, ya. Contohnya seperti blok ke-6 dan ke-7 ni, di mana ada dua blok jujukan kosong. Jadi kita boleh replace daripada penulisan seperti ini kepada ini. Harus diingat, jujukan blok kosong hanya boleh digunakan sekali sahaja. Jika ada jujukan lain, dia tidak boleh menggunakan simbol double colon ni. Tetapi kita boleh shrunk down kosong itu kepada single zero seperti di blok kedua. Jadi, sebagai rumusan, saya ingin membawa tuan-tuan dan puan-puan untuk melihat video yang saya ambil daripada YouTube ini untuk merumuskan bagaimana format dan ringkasan alamat IPv6.
All right, let's get started. So IPv6 addresses are 128-bit addresses represented in hexadecimal. Excuse me. Remember, hex is one hex digit is 4 bits. Okay, so 8 16-bit segments, sometimes we call them hextets, not a formal term, can be represented between all zeros and all Fs. Remember, hexadecimal uses both 0 through 9 and A through F. Okay, so each of these 16-bit segments is 16 bits. Okay, and we separate those with colons. Okay? And this will make reading and subnetting IPv6 much easier than IPv4. Now, typically, you notice on some occasion I'll have capital letters instead of lowercase. The trend has been, it really doesn't matter, but the trend has been to move towards lowercase. So anyway, you should be consistent. I wasn't in this screen, but that's okay. All right. We have two rules for compressing how we write IPv6 addresses. Rule 1 is that we can omit leading zeros in any 16-bit segment. So find just where we have leading zeros, not trailing zeros, we can actually omit those zeros. Okay, I'm leaving the spaces just so it's easier to see. Okay. And I said only leading zeros, not trailing zeros, because if we allowed trailing zeros to be omitted, we wouldn't know what this was, right? It could be any one of those. Okay, but it's only leading zeros, so we know it's the first two zeros. All right. All right, so that's actually the first 8 bits in binary, 4 bits per hexadecimal digit. The second rule is the double colon. Okay, the second rule states that any single contiguous string of one or more 16-bit segments that consist of all zeros can be represented by a double colon. Okay, so we can take this contiguous string of 4 16-bit segments or hextets and just reduce that to with one double colon. So our first rule says, well, we can omit that leading 0 and those leading zeros. So let's take a look. Can't touch those, right? Trailing zeros. So that would give us this. Notice that we're using the double colon instead of those 4 segments of all zeros. All right. Now, rule 2, the double colon, says only a single contiguous string of all 0 segments can be represented with a double colon. Okay, so if we take a look here, both of these would be correct. We could write it this way, where we use these 2 segments, these 2 hextets of all zeros, represented with a double colon. And then we would have to use the first rule of omitting leading zeros to reduce the size of the second hextet, second group of 2 hextets. We could do it this way. Okay, we could actually use the double colon on the second group and reduce the first group by just omitting the leading zeros. Okay, although it really doesn't matter and operating systems will take it either way, of course there's an RFC that states that which one should you use? Well, you should use whatever has the longest string of zeros. And if they're equal, then you should, then the first string of all zeros should be replaced using the double colon, but it really doesn't matter. Okay, this is known as the compressed format. Okay, using the double colon, can only use it once. This we cannot do. Why? Because we wouldn't know what this looked like. Okay, there's ambiguity in which, how many zeros are in each group. Okay, we can only use it once.